CDC Director pushed out, flood of top resignations follow. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, is facing a major leadership crisis. Director Susan Monarez was fired less than a month into her role, along with at least 4 other top officials who submitted their resignations. These departures include the Chief Medical Officer, the Director of the National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases, and other key personnel. Resignation letters cited concerns over the weaponizing of public health and the spread of vaccine misinformation as contributing factors. The timing of these resignations is particularly alarming, coming after a shooting at the CDC campus that resulted in the death of a police officer. Staffers expressed shock and concern, describing the departing officials as highly skilled and essential to the agency's operations. One staffer noted Monarez had been a strong advocate for employees, taking the shooting seriously. Experts are sounding the alarm, warning that the loss of experienced leadership weakens the nation's ability to respond to public health threats. The departures are attributed to the influence of extremists within the Department of Health and Human Services. The situation highlights ongoing concerns about vaccine misinformation and the politicization of public health. This leadership vacuum leaves the CDC in a vulnerable position, particularly given the recent history of leadership changes within the agency under the current administration. The ongoing instability raises serious questions about the agency's capacity to effectively protect public health.
In our next story, CDC Director Dr. Susan Monarez is being ousted just weeks into her tenure. Dr. Susan Monarez, the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, has been abruptly dismissed after just over a month in office. Her departure follows a period of already low morale at the agency, exacerbated by recent staff cuts and a shooting incident at the Atlanta campus. 3 other top CDC officials also resigned shortly after the announcement. The ouster reportedly stemmed from internal pressure, allegedly led by the Health and Human Services Secretary's Deputy Chief of Staff. This comes as the agency prepares to announce new appointees to its Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, a panel recently dissolved and reconstituted with members who have expressed skepticism about vaccine safety. Monarez's tenure was the shortest in the agency's history. She was President Trump's second choice for the position, and her appointment was celebrated by Secretary Kennedy at the time. Critics, however, point to this rapid dismissal as another example of chaotic leadership within the agency, raising concerns about its ability to effectively address public health challenges. The sudden departure of multiple high-ranking officials leaves the CDC leaderless at a crucial time, sparking concerns about its stability and ability to protect public health. The situation is rapidly evolving.
In our next story, what we know about Minnesota school shooting suspect Robin Westman. A 23-year-old identified as Robin Westman has been named as the suspect in a shooting at Annunciation Catholic School in Minneapolis. The attack resulted in the deaths of an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old child, with 17 others sustaining injuries. Westman, who died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound at the scene, used a rifle, shotgun, and pistol, firing through church windows at children and worshippers. Authorities are investigating a possible motive, examining videos posted to YouTube by Westman prior to the shooting. These videos contained notes, drawings of weapons, and writings expressing nihilistic views, grievances, and references to other school shootings. The writings were a mix of Cyrillic, English, and other languages, and one notebook included a "Defend Equality" sticker with an LGBTQIA flag overlaid with a gun. While Westman legally purchased the weapons used, police are still recovering additional firearms from related residences. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara described the shooting as a deliberate act of violence, condemning the suspect's actions. Mayor Jacob Frey echoed these sentiments, urging against using the tragedy to vilify any community and focusing instead on supporting the victims' families. Law enforcement is actively investigating the suspect's background and the circumstances surrounding the attack. The investigation is ongoing, but officials are currently reviewing the suspect's digital footprint, journals, and recovered weapons to attempt to determine a clearer motive behind this devastating act.
In our next story, Rashee Rice took the 6-game suspension because the end result likely would have been more. Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice has accepted a 6-game suspension from the NFL. This follows a disciplinary hearing stemming from an undisclosed violation. While Rice could have contested the charges, potentially leading to a longer suspension, he opted for a plea agreement to avoid the uncertainty of the league's internal appeals process. The decision suggests Rice and his representatives believed a full hearing could result in a more severe penalty. The NFL commissioner holds significant power in these cases, ultimately deciding the length of any suspension, even potentially extending it beyond the initial 6 games. The league's ability to control the entire process, from investigation to appeal, strongly influenced Rice's choice. Reports indicate internal frustration within the NFL over the delayed hearing schedule. Several owners reportedly voiced concerns, and the management council expressed dissatisfaction. This timeline issue likely played a role in the negotiations, adding pressure on Rice to accept the 6-game suspension. Ultimately, Rice chose certainty over the risk of a longer suspension. By accepting the 6-game penalty, he avoided the potentially more significant consequences of challenging the league's decision within their own system. He will miss several high-profile games during this period. In our next story, Nvidia earnings. Stock falls despite top-line beat as sales outlook falters. Nvidia exceeded expectations in its second quarter earnings report, posting sales of $46.74 billion and exceeding earnings forecasts. However, the company's outlook for the third quarter is more cautious. This is largely due to uncertainty surrounding U.S. government restrictions on the sale of its H20 chips to China, a crucial market for Nvidia. The company anticipates potential sales of $2 billion to $5 billion in these chips to China, pending clarification on export regulations requiring a 15% remittance. Nvidia CFO Colette Kress stated they are awaiting formal regulations from the U.S. government regarding these restrictions. The company reported no H20 chip sales to China in the second quarter, though some inventory was sold to a customer outside the country. Despite the uncertainty, Nvidia projects third-quarter revenue between $52.9 billion and $55.1 billion, a range slightly below some analysts' predictions of $60 billion. CEO Jensen Huang emphasized the importance of the Chinese market for Nvidia, highlighting its status as the second-largest computing market globally and home to approximately half of the world's AI researchers. He stressed the ongoing strong demand for Nvidia's AI chips, noting that current production is completely sold out. Despite the positive earnings report, Nvidia's stock experienced a 3% dip in after-hours trading, though it still shows a substantial year-to-date gain of 35%. The company's future performance hinges significantly on resolving the ongoing uncertainties surrounding its operations in China.